Hello, everybody. I'm forgotten who I am. No, I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up, and laughing in a sane way, not like just now. Goodness. Welcome. If this is your first time to our channel, we're so glad you could join us. If you're an old friend, I'm really glad you're back again. It's nice to be with you. Oh my goodness, I'm so confused tonight. It has been a really topsy-turvy, really topsy-turvy day, just in case you can't tell. Okay, so how's No Spending Month going? I just a quick update from us is that, well, we're sort of doing okay. I haven't spent anything that I wasn't supposed to spend. I bought milk, I bought bread. That's about it. We've eaten out of the pantry or the garden. I did spend $4 for an upcoming project for Cheapskates, but that's not my personal spending. And it was $2 at the op shop and $2 at a $2 shop. So, and I was really pleased. And it's a great project. You'll love it when you see it. So from my point of view, No Spending Month's barreling along just fine. Mind you, we're only, 8 days in. So how's it going for you guys? Let me see. I've got comments up here somewhere. I can have a look and see. You and me both, Lucinda, both roughly on time. Hello, Kerry. Who else? Can't see. Everyone's gone. Hi, Barb. Hope you're feeling better. Hello, Sheena's only spent $15 for apples and avocados. Cool. Well, my car hasn't left the driveway since Saturday. I went to Hannah's. This weekend. Came home Saturday afternoon, parked it in the carport, and it's been there ever since. And Wayne came home from work yesterday and went, "No, you didn't go out." And no, I didn't go out. Came home from work today and said, "You still haven't been out." And went, no need to go out. If I don't need to go out, why would I? I've got plenty of stuff to do around here, trust me. So that's good. I did notice, boy, petrol's expensive where Hannah is. Very expensive. But never mind. We do what we have to do. So hello, Trish. Admiral's back. Glad you joined us again this week. Welcome, Pam. Pam Peoples, welcome again, Pam. Hello, Joy, Sylvia. I don't know. I'm really sorry. I'm going to really muck this up, especially today. I've got wonky fingers and wonky tongue and wonky feet. So I spent $23 on the first week. Stockpiling, yes. See, I'm so pleased for you. And don't stress about the stockpiling. Just do it, little bit of time. It adds up. Nobody has a year's worth of grocery money. Well, very few of us have a year's worth of grocery money where we can just bolt out and hit the supermarkets and the bulk stores and whatever and buy everything all at once. We all have to build our pantry slowly. So it works. And the good part about building your pantry slowly is you actually get a better idea of what you use and how often you use it. Kerry's got to get chook food. You've got to get chook food to get food from the chooks. So that makes sense. Hello, Shelley. Queso. Thank you. I'll remember that this week. I might forget for next week, sorry. In one ear out the other. I'm a bit of a sieve at the moment. So other than that, I've had a really busy week. It was last week. The weather eased off, thank goodness. I think, remember, if you were on last week, Maureen mentioned that the cool change had hit her. Well, she's way over the other side of town to me. So I thought, oh. So anyway, by the time we'd finished the cool change, it arrived here and it was just blissful. Took the humidity right out of the air. So that meant I was able to get out into the garden and get stuck into it. So we've been working in the garden and working in the pergola and stuff like that. So I haven't had much inside work that's been accomplished, but a lot of outside work, which is really good because the tomatoes are just a big fizzer. They're gone. Pulled them out. They're compost. And we've added to the beds, dug some more compost and worm castings into them, and I'll let them rest for a couple of weeks while I figure out what's going to go in them for autumn and winter and get that garden started. Okay, and that's sort of a bit about what I'm going to talk about tonight anyway. Now, I need to start by saying this isn't a show to scare anyone. I say that all the time. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to scare you. Truly, I'm not. And if anything I say does scare you, then please ask yourself why you're scared. What is it about what I'm saying that bothers you? And find the solution. Because there's really nothing to be scared of. There's plenty to prepare for, but nothing really to be scared of. If you're prepared and you keep on preparing, there is absolutely nothing that should be scary because you've got a plan and you can work your plan, and you'll have a plan B and C and D and maybe even E. Now, if you're still scared and you're not prepared and you're not preparing, then you need to start. Now, right now, today, tonight, when we're finished here, you start, do your inventories, make your lists, but start and follow through with them. Because that's the only way you're going to find peace. So, prices are going up. I think you've probably all noticed that. Prices are going up. Some things are some brands are disappearing, not just some items, but some whole brands are disappearing. So every week I go with Thomas when he does the pizza shopping, because he does the pizzas on a Thursday night. That's his thing. And I just have been cringing at the price increases. And not just on the things like that they like on their pizza, because they get some fancy schmancy pepperoni stuff that I don't eat. So I don't eat pizza. So they do it themselves, and that's fine. And it's gone up. It's $38 a kilo. And I'm like, he goes, oh, we only get 150 grams. That's still a lot of money. That makes your pizza very expensive, but they're happy to do it. But things like milk has gone up. Cheese has gone up. Frozen veggies have gone up. Frozen fruit has gone up. I had a look in the freezer cabinet a couple of weeks ago, thinking I would get some raspberries if they were back in stock, and they've gone up nearly $3. So I didn't get raspberries. But even fresh fruit and vegetables, grapes are $5 a kilo. Now, if you're not a Victorian, you might wonder why I'm shocked at that. But we grow a lot of grapes in Victoria. They should not be $5 a kilo. No, let me say, if I thought that most of that $5 a kilo was going to the farmer and to the transport company, then I'd be happy to pay it, probably. But when I know that it's not, and they're getting a pittance for that fruit, it really bothers me. And I won't pay $5 a kilo. And last week, celery, plain old celery that lots of people just ignore as a vegetable, was $4.50 a bunch. I would not pay that for celery either. Because, let's be real, those prices in Australia are just beyond ridiculous. They really are. And the reasoning for it does not make sense. That's another bugbear of mine. Now, Pepsi's gone up. Now, I don't buy it and I don't drink it, but the boys do. Again, they buy their own. And it's gone up 20 cents a bottle. Now, they only have 2 bottles. So, 40 cents a week doesn't sound much. But if that was on a family shop and everything went up even 10 cents, which, by the way, would be just 5%, because 20 cents a bottle is a 10% increase. It was $2 a bottle. That's a big price rise. So if everything on a family shop went up even just 10 cents every item, on average, I was trying to do the sums, and because I don't really shop like normal people, but from what I could work out, that's an extra $3 a week on the grocery bill. Now again, $3 does not sound like much, but when you say it adds $156 a year to the grocery bill, that makes you stop and think. Because if you're on the $300 a month food challenge, that's 2 weeks of grocery money gone just on price increases. It is so frustrating. Now, we're all aware of rising prices, and we all know that they are not going to come down. They might come on sale every now and then, but they're up to stay. They're pretty much up to stay. But how much more are prices going to rise? And not just prices on food, but medicines are going up, fuel. If you're in Australia at the moment, you're probably paying through the nose for your fuel. Clothing, furniture, land, houses, electricity, gas, water, all those things that we use every day are going up in price. And not slowly, but really fast. Now, I've been trying all week, because I've been going to talk about this, to find out if anyone could sort of put a timeline on it. No one seems to know. Not even the most famous economists throughout the world, in any country, seem to have an answer, and no two seem to be able to agree, which is very frustrating for little old me, who is not an economist. I did study economics, but I am not an economist by any means. So I am much too practical and much too pragmatic, maybe. So how do we as individuals, how do we beat inflation? And how do we prepare for hyperinflation? Well, first off, I would say for me, for you, we don't even need to, hyperinflation should not even be on our radar. Now, it's out there. You'll have some that are saying it's coming, some that say it's here, some that say, oh, been through it, we're out the other side now. No one can agree. So for my hip pocket, probably yours too, forget about hyperinflation and just think about inflation, because that's what we understand. We understand inflation we go to the grocery store and the milk's gone up again, the bread's gone up, the eggs have gone up, the cheese has gone up, the peanut butter's gone up. We understand that. And we understand that our cost of living has gone up because of that. So what do? Well, first off, we get out of debt. quick smart, as fast as you can. If you owe money, doesn't matter how much it is. If you owe any money, put everything you can towards paying that debt off. Get rid of the credit cards. Get rid of the loans. Now, if that means that you need to live on a bare bones budget for a while, for a few months, for a year, for 2 years, so be it. Just do it. It's not forever. It's until you actually own what you have and you owe no one. Does that make sense? It's not forever. You won't be on a bare bones budget forever, just until you actually own what you have and you owe no one. Now, I hear a lot of frugal people say, we are debt and mortgage free. And they say it with a big smile on their face. And I'm smiling too, because that's really great. But what frustrates me with that particular cluster of words, with that phrase, is the subliminal, perhaps, implication that a mortgage isn't a debt. They're debt-free and they don't have a mortgage. A mortgage is a debt. I hate to burst their bubble. I hate to burst your bubble if you've not thought of it like that. But a mortgage is a debt. And often it is a debt, a huge debt of hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is a debt. Right now, interest rates are low. Talk about them going up. Who knows? Again, no one can really agree on this. So be smart. And if that's your debt, push as much as you can onto that mortgage and get rid of it. Because interest rates will go up. Now, I know there's going to be some of you who don't agree with what I'm saying, and that's fine. We don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with me, and I don't have to agree with you. But folks, debt is debt. When you own money, you own nothing, and you can lose the lot. Get rid of your debt. You can start by no more debting, no more buying stuff. Make do with what you have in terms of clothes and shoes and furniture and vehicles and household appliances. Buy ingredients and learn to cook if you don't know how. Don't spend money on anything that isn't absolutely a need. Keep no spending month going into March and April for the whole year and see how you go. Now, there are things that you must spend money on. You must pay your rent or your mortgage. You must. And medications. You must pay your car registration and insurance if you have a vehicle. If you've got kids at school, you have to pay the school fees. But there's, even within those things, there's a lot of flexibility to help you get out of debt. You could, if you've been with your current mortgage lender for a while, renegotiate and see if you can get the interest rate lowered, or you can shop around and switch mortgages. If you're going to do that, just make sure that even if the interest rate is lower, and so the monthly repayment will be lower, you keep paying what you are presently paying so that you are overpaying your mortgage, if that makes sense. That was a jumbled way of saying it, wasn't it? Don't just automatically pay the lower amount. You keep paying what you're paying now so that you get ahead. If you have a lot of medications, speak to your doctor. See if there are cheaper brands that you can try. Some people swear generics don't have any effect. Other people swear black and blue they do. Try them. You know, if you can get your medications on the PBS as opposed to having to pay $40, $60, $80 for them, that's just common sense. And you should. Food doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need to buy the most expensive brands. You don't need to buy the most expensive cuts of meat. So you need to be smart about living on less to get out of debt. Because think of it this way. Debt is a 4-letter word. We don't like 4-letter words in our house. We don't use 4-letter words in our house. So do whatever you can to get out of debt and lose that 4-letter word. Eliminate it from your life. Now, the next thing you can do to beat inflation is build your pantry. I cannot stress this enough. I just can't. Build your pantry. Keep it full. Keeping a full pantry of ingredients that you use is not hoarding. It is not being selfish. It is not a waste of money. In fact, it actually saves you money. And it will save you from hunger. And frankly, we here in Australia are pretty darn fortunate that we don't really know true hunger. Our children don't really know true hunger. But keep your pantry full. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, I'm sure. If you've been a long-time subscriber or a Cheapskates Club member, you'll know this is, if I ever meet the man in person, I am just going to grab his ear and shake his head. I once heard an interview where Donald Trump said that, putting money into a pantry was an absolute waste. You'd be better off investing it in one of his buildings, probably. That's not true. That's not true. He has absolutely no idea. That is not true. Your pantry is a great investment, and the return on that investment right now, today, that the return on that investment is beating anything you'll get at a bank, on the stock exchange, and any sort of bonds or anything, any sort of investment. Your pantry is beating it. The return on your pantry, beating it by far. So keep your pantry full. If that means that you need to, let's channel our premier, skip the beers or the wine for a few weeks, so be it. If that will free up money so that you can fill your pantry, then do it. Beer and wine don't stop you from being hungry. Beer and wine won't fill your kids' tummies during a crisis. You know what I mean. I'm pretty sure you all know what I mean. Making a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain isn't hard. And if you think it is, if you think it's really hard, then check your priorities, folks. Just check your priorities, because it's not hard. The long-term gain is going to outweigh that short-term hardship. Now, someone's going to ask how much they should have in their pantry. And that's a personal thing. That's up to you. But it should have enough to be able to see you through at least a short-term crisis, whether that's a week off with the flu or tonsillitis, or you get flooded in, or lockdown, dare I say it, or unemployment. It needs to be enough. You should have enough to get you through at least a couple of weeks without any income, without being able to go shopping. And that's why I say think of your pantry as an investment, because it's what it is. You're buying today at today's prices so that you don't need to buy next week when prices are higher, and they will be. And it's not rocket science, it's just common sense, and it's a really practical way to keep your pantry full. It's a practical way to run your household budget. And because when you have backup food, you can afford to wait until it comes on sale again, or until you can grow more of it, or your next door neighbour can grow more of it and you can swap. You have that wriggle room, that time. Now, the thing to remember is your pantry isn't just food. It's cleaning items, it's toiletries, it's medicines and health needs, it's garden needs. These are all a part of your pantry. Now, I know that traditionally pantries have been looked on as just a place to store food. But I looked it up in the dictionary. I went again today, I looked it up in the dictionary, and pantry just means storeroom. So it's a storeroom for the cleaning supplies, the garden supplies, the toiletries, whatever. A gift pantry. Now, I've done videos about different pantries, and we've talked about them before, so I'll put the links to those in the description box below, and you can go back and have a look at them. But it's not just your food, it's everything that you need, everything that you use. Now you can, another way to build your pantry and beat inflation is to grow some of your food. Now, you don't have time, you don't have the room, you've just got green thumbs, you've got a perfect excuse. Baloney. Just give it a try. On Sunday, I added 8 pints of tomato pasta sauce to the pantry for the grand sum of, it was about $4. By the time I did the seeds and the water to grow them, and a bit of onion that I tossed in with it to cook down. So it's 50 cents a jar. Now, even on sale, you can't get a 500 gram jar of pasta sauce for 50 cents. You just can't. I grew those tomatoes, and I grew them off really lousy bushes this year that all got pulled out at the weekend anyway. If you use spring onions, a $2 packet of seed, they've gone up, and a pot will keep you in fresh spring onions for years. And when spring onions are over $2 a bunch, over time, that adds up to a decent sum of money. You don't need acres to grow food. You can grow plenty in a very small space. If you're new to gardening, start with one thing that you buy regularly. It might be lettuce. Get a pot and grow some lettuce. Master growing that thing. Then you can try something else. When you've got that mastered, grow something else. Baby steps. One by one, little by little, so that you learn and you'll stick with the plan. But if you go in all gung-ho and you spend a fortune on planters and seed raising mix and potting mix and fertilizers and fancy seeds and fancy seedlings, you'll get overwhelmed and you'll give up. And then you'll curse me because you've spent all that money and have nothing for it. And if you don't know what you're doing, hello, you've got information at your fingertips via the internet. Hello. If you can Google the best restaurant to eat at, you can Google how to grow tomatoes or beans or strawberries or pumpkins or watermelons or celery or whatever. You can find that information. And it doesn't matter where you live, because even in an apartment, you can grow food. You can grow on the balcony. You can grow indoors. So just stop with the excuses. Just do it. Seeds are going up in price. I did notice at the weekend. I was a bit stunned. But they're still, touch wood, readily available. The reject shop, cheap as chips, has seeds. Even supermarkets sell seeds. They're everywhere if you want them. Or you can join a seed exchange and make new friends and learn heaps and get seeds that you often can't buy. Now I'll get slammed for this. I just know it. I'm going to get slammed for this, but I think it's just laziness, the main reason that veggie gardening isn't happening. Now, ignore the rush of the last 2 years with everyone that raced out and cleaned out the garden centres and then did nothing with it. I think it's laziness. People don't want to put the effort in. They'd rather sit inside on their phone or their tablet and complain about the cost of feeding their family fruit and veg. I know, because I get the emails every week. And when I suggest they grow some, I get emails back with lots of excuses. They work. They have children. They've got pets. They live in a unit. They live in a flat. They live in the bush. They live in the mountains. I've got excuses. Just don't be that person. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's how we use them that makes a difference. So we need to use them to beat inflation. That's what we need to do. We need to be smart about this, because we can do it. We don't have to bear rising costs and let our standard of living suffer because of it. We can beat it. We can live well on less, and in fact, often we can live better on less when we put our minds to it. If you've got any debt and you're trying to pay it off, I truly hope you are, building your pantry and having it to fall back on also gives you, it frees up some extra cash, because you might be able to go for a week and not shop. And so you've got that grocery money to put towards a mortgage repayment or a loan repayment or a credit card repayment to get it down faster. Keeping your pantry full just makes sense. Across the board, whether it's 2022, 2023, 2019, doesn't matter. Whenever it is, keeping your pantry full is just common sense. Now, the other thing that you can do to beat inflation, and this is another controversial thing, is save. Now, I know right now when interest rates are low and investments, they're not really making any money, saving is, a bit of an iffy topic. But for little people like me, like you, building cash savings will always give you an advantage over having to borrow money. Always. Now, that is not a popular concept. And there are a gazillion economists and armchair experts out there who will tell you that it is stupid, I'm wrong, I'm leading you up the garden path. It's fine. You don't have to do what I'm saying. You don't have to take any notice of me. But it's not stupid. It's not insane. It's really, really sensible. Because when you have cash, you have buying power. Because whatever you buy, you will own outright. You won't be paying interest on your purchases. You won't be running the risk of losing it if you can't pay. You are miles ahead miles ahead, or should I say dollars ahead of those who think credit is the best thing since sliced bread. Now, I know it's not a popular concept. I'd go so far as to say that it is hated. I know, because I get the hate mail. But ask yourself why it's hated, and ask yourself who the haters are. The answer is because if you own something, you hold the power. Not the bank or the finance company, but you. You own it, you hold the power. Now, I often say that the only debt anyone should ever have is their mortgage, and I mean it. Not a fan of debt, not a fan of credit cards, not a fan of loans. If you don't have the cash to pay for something, then you can't afford it. You need to stop spending and start saving. So the mortgage I will allow because it's often, especially these days, a huge amount of money. But that mortgage needs to be as small as possible. Because remember, you might borrow $200,000, but you'll be paying back how much? Especially these days as they're pushing more towards 30-year loans. So that makes it even worse. Means you're paying more. If you're about to take out a mortgage, push for as short a term as you possibly can. Just ridiculous. I was really, really stunned to hear that 30-year loans are back in fashion. And the other thing is, especially if it's your first home, it doesn't have to be a mansion. You just have to have walls and a roof, a kitchen, a bathroom. You can make it nice. You can make it your own. It does not have to be a mansion as a first home, as a starter home. Think of it as your starter home. It's step one on the way to your dream home. You'll save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest and a lot of stress if you do that. The other thing is, you might not be able to afford to live where you think that you should live. So you need to be flexible. You need to weigh up whether it's worth the extra money on the mortgage or the extra travelling time. You might have to move further out. You might have to move to a suburb that's not familiar to you, that's perhaps not the suburb that you think that you should live in. Small sacrifices, guys, especially if it's your first home. It's a small sacrifice. It's first home. It's a starter home. So it's to get you into the market. Alrighty. Now, guys, I don't know whether you can see it or not, but sitting over here, can I lift it? Oh, there we go. Still got this dehydrator here. I'm really wanting to get rid of it. I need to get it out of this room. So as soon as we hit 5,000 subscribers, we will be drawing the Sunbeam Master Series Food Lab Electronic Dehydrator. And I will be so excited because I will be getting it out of this room. Now, all you have to do is subscribe. So hit the subscribe button. If you are not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button underneath me there. Then the bell, because you'll want to be notified when we're actually doing a show. We are almost, Lucinda, Hannah's banned me from looking, but we're well over 4,000 last time I looked. So I want to get rid of it. Oops. It's been sitting here for ages. I want it out of here. So 5,000 subscribers. I will draw this, or Hannah will draw it, someone will draw it, and it will be off. Now, if you are not in Australia, I can't send it to you. I'm really sorry, but we've got to work around that. We will be sending you an Amazon gift voucher to the value of the food saver. So even if you're not in Australia, you can be in New Zealand or Canada or South Africa or the UK or the USA or Spain or where else, Japan, where else, Israel, wherever you are, if you are subscribed, you still have a chance at winning either the dehydrator or the gift voucher. Lucinda, dehydrators are so good. All right, now I'm going to zip up and, ooh, oh my, oh gosh, okay. Also, if you like our channel, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps us with, I don't know, something with YouTube. Makes us easy to find too, which is really important if people are looking for us. Because someone said to me, I need to do better headlines and make them more shocking. And I'm not very good at that because I don't like them myself. I don't like clickbait, annoys me. I don't like it myself. So I try not to do it to you guys. So anyway, so I don't do very interesting headlines, I know. I try to make the shows interesting, though. All right, now. Oh, Veronica's having a really good week. $9.20 so far this month. Julie's stocked up with kitty litter. Perfect. Sorry to hear you've not been well, Annette, and about the garden. Yvonne, yeah. Fuel is just outrageous, isn't it? I noticed when I used to have to take the kids to school, and I used to take them to school because it was actually cheaper than the bus. Otherwise, they'd have been on the bus. I tried to plan my trip. So I'd take them in the morning, do whatever I had to do, come home, do whatever, to go back and pick them up. And I loved school holidays because we weren't doing that. Excuse me, have a drink. We weren't doing that. And so I had that extra money. And then, of course, once they all eventually finished school and whatever, and I wasn't doing that run anymore, I had so much money in the fuel budget, but I didn't drop it. What I did was it stayed the same, and we have $80 a fortnight too. And that's more than enough for what we do on average. So whatever's left over goes into the fuel account for our holidays and helps pay for the fuel when we go away. So, yeah. I couldn't get UHT milk a couple of weeks ago, Kerry. If you can get it, it'd be really good. Oil's going up, butter. Tissues up by 35% in Sydney, 35 cents in Sydney. That's oh, Annette, can you get it from Costco? I know that sounds absurd, and I know I'm not a Costco fan, but it is slight. And I think Aldi, if you have an Aldi near you, look for Coke at Aldi. check the unit price, but it's a little bit cheaper at Aldi than it is at Coles or Woolworths. $5 for a cauliflower, and that's when you buy frozen. 85 cents. Wow. Coke, no sugar. I think I read what you wrote, Queso. Oh dear, Linky family. I'm sorry, I was complaining about $5 a kilo. I can't. I just can't justify it. And yes, Lucinda, it does all add up. You think 10 cents on one thing, 5 cents on another, it adds up, and it adds up really quickly, and not just once, but every time you do that shopping. So that over the year, it can really throw your grocery budget out. At least you expect birds to get into pots, not a dog. Lacey dug up my rhubarb last week or the week before. It's still going strong though. Can you put netting or bit of fly wire or something over the pots, tie it with some string or something to keep the birds off? Yeah, Hannah was paying $1. I think it was $1.93 or $1.97. It was outrageous price. Ashley Rose, $3 a litre. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What can I say? I might have to drag out the bike. I think it's going to come to a point where not only will people stop buying, but we are seeing here, I'm not sure how it is in the USA, but we are seeing here that whole brands are disappearing. So where we might have had 3 or 4 different types of tinned corn, for instance, now we're down to 2 brands. So it's not just the tinned corn that's missing, but it's the whole brand. So, but everything with those brands that have gone, could be the peas, the carrots, the fruit, or whatever, that whole brand has gone. And that makes it very, very difficult. We're a small country and we have a small population. So we don't have a huge variety in terms of producers and manufacturers, especially local. And so when something disappears, it really impacts quite, it hits us hard. And I know there are people that are going, oh, you can still get tinned corn. But the issue is that the brands that are still available haven't increased their production. So that means there's actually a shortage of tin corn too. Not just a whole company has gone out of business, but there's now a shortage. And the corn that used to be used by those other companies is left to rot, for example. So it's really hard. And I think there's going to come a point where not rationing in terms of how it was in the UK during World War II. I don't think it will be like that, but I think it will be pretty much the limits that we had. You know, you could have 1 packet of whatever and 1 packet of toilet paper, 1 carton of eggs, 1 block of cheese, 1 tray of mince. I think those limits will come back in, and that everyone will be made to use a card to pay because cards are traceable. And the data is entered. You get your receipt with it all listed and it's got your card number on the bottom. And so it's all trackable, which is another reason why I say use cash when you go grocery shopping. And then that will be a way of managing how much everyone has, because it will be one packet of toilet paper per fortnight, one tray of mints a week. It will be tracked, and it's reasonably easy to do with the electronic card system that everyone seems to love. Depends on who you ask and where you live. It's really frustrating, really frustrating to me. You can stretch meals really easily. Rice, oats. Now, if you want to add oats to something and families complaining about them, whiz them in the food processor so that they're smaller. Don't pulverize them and turn them into flour and dust, but whiz them so they're smaller pieces. And they will sort of melt into whatever they're added to, meatballs, meatloaf, rissoles, whatever, that sort of thing. Well done. Well done. We do an Own Your Christmas challenge. We start in October. You might want to join us for that. Welcome, Dimbula Bladeworks. There are lots of things that we can do to eat well and eat healthfully without spending a lot of money, and without going to extremes, without going to really, extremes. But yeah, see, Joy is saying her husband's uncle got a house in the 1930s because he saved and had the money in the bank, and the previous owners were in debt up to their eyes with the mortgage, furniture on hire purchase. Wasn't that the way? And they were paying off a car. Yow. 1930s must have hit them hard. I worry. I know how much house prices are going up in Australia, particularly here in Melbourne, in Sydney, all around Victoria. Warrnambool is just gone crazy, And I think I've mentioned Hannah's house has supposedly increased in value $100,000 since she bought it in June. So I worry because now they're saying, 20% deposit. Well, it actually doesn't give you a lot. When you have a huge mortgage, 20% deposit is not a lot of equity in that home to start with. But what is more frightening is right now the houses are really expensive. Interest rates are low, mortgages are huge, and housing is just beyond our wildest imagination in terms of cost. So when it all comes crashing down, and it will because it has in the past, and this sort of history has a habit of repeating itself, there are going to be a lot of families that even with 2 wages will not be able to afford the higher interest rate on a house that's worth less than what they borrowed. So be very, very careful. Pay off as fast as you can get out of debt. Well done. Well, it was normal, wasn't it? Because only people that lived in the city actually shopped daily. Well, even my mum, we used to walk to the shop probably every couple of days. We would walk when I was a little girl. We would walk to the local shops and she would buy the fresh vegetables or the meat or whatever for the next couple of days, and home we'd go again. Bread was delivered, milk was, or she made bread, but milk was delivered. She had chooks for some eggs, but people don't live like that anymore, and we're not encouraged to either. It's sort of frowned upon if you live in the city, and you, as we are all finding now, you know, how many of us have been in the last 2 years vilified for being smart enough to keep a pantry stocked. You know, people don't do it anymore, and it's a shame because they suffer for it. I think that's the comment of the day, Joy. I love it. Good point. Beware of food fatigue. It's one reason why I like to encourage you to buy ingredients rather than products, rather than foods. Buy the ingredients. And I know that there's some that are really convenient, but you know, ingredients give you options. If you've got the flour, you've got the sugar, you've got the yeast, you've got the butter, the eggs, the herbs and spices, the dried fruits, coconut, nuts, you've got options. You can make cakes, you can make biscuits, you can make breads, you can do quiches, you can do pastries. You have options. If you keep the, you know, vegetables like the corn, the peas, the carrots, potatoes, the onions, the broccoli, the cauliflower, the cabbage, all those sorts of things, you keep the tomatoes, you keep those, you have options, and so you're less likely to suffer from food fatigue. So it's a point to think about to, as you fill your pantry, are you filling it with ingredients or are you filling it with one-off use things? Because again, it determines how long the pantry lasts too. Learn to barter to get what you need. Yes. Oh, Amy, I'm so glad you had a storm. That would be nice. Estate sales for garage type goods. Yes. Now, I don't know whether we're even allowed to have. I don't know if we can have garage sales at the moment. Are they still on the unapproved list? Garage sales. Shade cloth. Throw a sheet over them. Throw it. I've often run out at 9 o'clock in the morning when it's going to be a scorcher and thrown sheets, grabbed sheets out of the linen cupboard and thrown them over my garden, over the fruit trees, over the tomatoes, over the strawberry bed. Anything to keep the sun off them will do the job. Little rock melons, eggplant. I wish my eggplant, I got flowers but no fruit. Cucumbers, figs. I'm jealous, Pam. And you've got 3 beehives. I'm really Really, really jealous. Hello, Chris. All right, now. Seedlings from Bunnings from Queso. Using pots. Yep, just keep reusing your pots. Now, if you're going to reuse your pots, just make sure they're washed out well. So hot soapy water and dry them in the sun. And that's just, or it's not quite sterilising them, but just in case there is something in the soil that was in those pots, give them a really good clean out before you reuse them. But they can be used over and over and over again. Wow. A desktop lettuce grower. I think I'd like that. That'd be really good. Very nice. And of course, just picking leaves, lettuce lasts for ages. Yeah. I said about electric fence and Wayne laughed at me. Now, we've had electric fences in the past, not around the veggie garden, but he laughed at me. I think it's, tell your partner, I think it's a brilliant idea, Chris. Canning jars are starting to come back, but they're very, very expensive. Yep, powdered milk is very expensive. All right, Valerie, there are quite a few edible and nutritious plants that come into your garden for nothing. Yes. That's something I am not very good at foraging. I'm just not. But I have been reading more about it, and when I go for my walks, I've been looking to try and see. And one of the garden groups that I belong to, occasionally, I think a couple of times a year, has foraging type workshops that I'm trying to get to. So I think that's a really good thing too. 30-year loans, yeah, well, common. It's a long time to have a mortgage. It's a long time to have a mortgage. We talked about well, not so much. We didn't call them prepper diaries, but we talked about these earlier this year. I think it was earlier this year or late last year. And what we need, what we have, keeping the inventories and things in them. Is that what you're talking about? So that you can keep track of your supplies, of like your canning supplies. And then I've got my canning schedule. So this morning I marked in that I'd added 8 pasta sauce to it so that I updated it, that sort of thing. Yeah, skim milk powder is very expensive. On that note, sorry, Jimbula Bladeworks is talking about mints. Just prompted me, Melbourne ladies and gentlemen. Tasman Meats has Silverside for $8.99 a kilo this week, which is about $2 cheaper than it was last week when I looked at it and put it back. Yeah. So Dog food. Oh dear. Everything's going up. It's growing. I maybe it just needed a boost, Trina, because it's still growing. I check it every morning. I race out and make sure it's still okay. It's got a couple of new little shoots on it, so saved the dog's life. I was really upset, but it was so funny. Lacey is Hannah's dog, Barb. She has a beautiful Kelpie, and she's just gorgeous. But a couple of weeks ago, she came and dug up my rhubarb that was in a pot. And then the next week when she came ran straight through the house. And I'm a good girl. She knows she's got to go out. So straight out the back and straight to the pot where the rhubarb had been and was digging in it. And she'd actually buried the rhubarb. She dug it up again. She went straight to the pot. So it was really funny. $10.99 for Chinese cabbage, and they are so easy to grow, and they're easier than our regular savoys that we grow. So much and faster too. Oh my goodness. And $20 a kilo, $19.99 a kilo at Central Market for grapes. Did they come with a little person to pluck them and feed them to you? My goodness. Goodness me. Sorry, guys. Oh, I need to keep an eye on. Good for you, Shelley. Shelley says cash only for me. I'm cash only too. I like my cash budget. All right. We talk about this a bit too, and not so much. You don't actually have to ration what you have, but go back to your portions and remember your portions and eat the right sized portions. And we're not only healthier when we do that, or we certainly help with the weight issue, but it makes a big difference to your grocery bill. Was that in last week's newsletter or this week's newsletter? Oh, coming up. Anyway, I'm talking about this. Portion control, especially if you cook. Now, until Hannah moved out, we were 5. So a lot of the recipes, most of my recipes made 4 serves, and I would stretch them to 5. But occasionally I have one that will be 6 serves. So I always put that 6 serve, it got dished up into a container and once it was cool, put into the freezer for a freeze meal. It wasn't eaten. It wasn't, there's a bit left over, so we'll add it to everyone's plate, or, there's leftovers, so someone can have seconds if they want them. It was put away. Now there's 4 of us. Got the hiccups. Sorry, guys. Now there's 4 of us. I still do the same thing. I dish up 5 or 6 and put them in the freezer so that we've got freezer meals. And I look on freezer meals as free food because the cost was absorbed in that first meal. But I don't, that it's not seconds for anyone that can go back and have more. It's not spread out, divided up between the other plates. just to use it up. It becomes a meal. So it's really important, and that can have a really big impact on your grocery bill. $1 a kilo for tomatoes is pretty good. Bushy Park, I think Bushy Park Big Watermelon had them for $1 a kilo. Are you asking me? What's my favourite thing to make from scratch? Soap powder. But then, anything, absolutely anything, because I don't buy packets. I don't buy mixes. I have a couple of what are they called? Self-sourcing pudding mixes that Hannah left behind. But see, they have a taste, an aftertaste to them. So, and it's just as easy to make your own. So, yeah, I don't often do anything that's not from scratch. And that means, weighing out, measuring out, adding the ingredients, the spices and things. Like I make my own spice mixes too. So I don't know that I have a particular favourite. I don't know. I have to think about it. Now you've got me thinking. The Bunnings trap. Yeah, cut down your meat. Wow. Costco mince has gone up to $10 a kilo. Youch. Yep. Well, I could, but all our meals are basic and simple. I don't do fancy or gourmet. I'd never make it onto MKR or MasterChef or anything like that. I'm making mint sauce this week, which is really easy because the mint in the garden's gone crazy, and it's something that we use a lot of. I use mint sauce in potato salad. I use mint sauce over steamed potatoes and on meats. So we use a lot of mint sauce. So I'll be making that this week, but that's just vinegar and mint and sugar. It's really simple. And I don't know why people buy it because it's so simple. But they do. Yes, plain tomatoes, perfect. We used to, when we were first married, I used to go into town once a week and do everything. So it was go to the bank, pay the bills, whatever bills had to be paid, because in those days you paid the bills, you didn't, and it was cheaper than posting checks. And I do the supermarket, which was Jewel in those days, and then hit Duffy Brothers, and I go out to the butcher and do a whole big thing, and then finish it off by coming home. And I used to go home the long way because the fuel depot next to the sale yards was always cheaper for petrol. So I would fill up the car there and then go home. Yeah, and then for big trips, it was into Albury, and it would be a whole day. We'd have to do the day because it's 130 odd kilometres into Albury and back again. If anyone could get their hands on any of the older CWA recipe books from 1990s back, they have really, really, really good normal recipes in them. Or if you can find in an op shop or a secondhand bookshop or a garage sale somewhere, one of the 1950s or 1960s Australian common sense cookery books, and it will be a little, only little, probably about 6 inches by 8 inches, tiny little thing, and they were in a creamy, well, might have been white, creamy colour now with age, and it just says common sense cookery on the front. Brilliant, because they will go through things like how to make lemon barley water, and right through to an elaborate Christmas cake. But they're really easy, simple, and they use ingredients that we have and that we know about. You might need to convert some of the measurements because they're imperial. But again, if you go to an op shop and start looking for some imperial measuring cups and measuring spoons, you won't need to. Oh, yeah. So corn flour in a sifter or a strainer and just dust it over. So over the cauliflower, over the broccoli, over the cabbages. Just dust it over the leaves. See, I'm waving my hand around, sorry. But yeah, and it will, the butterflies land on it, but they don't like it and they won't lay their eggs. So, and they'll go away. So yeah, just corn flour. Now you can get I've forgotten what it's called, cabbage dust or whatever, but it's a particular name and it's gone, from the garden centre, but you'll pay a fortune for it. So just corn flour. And I think it's gone up. It's about 99 cents now at Aldi, I think, the corn flour. But you only need a very little bit. I just use my little kitchen sifter over the top. Works wonders. Well, when our car was broken into, I was really upset, really, really upset. And we've got a kill switch in it, and that's fine. So it would never have gone anywhere, but they just cleaned out Wayne's tools and our cameras and stuff. And I wanted him, and he was so, and there is an alarm, but he had disconnected it for some reason and he was going to reconnect it. And I suggested that it should actually be like the electric fence, so that when we got out and we locked the door, it sort of triggered something that came on like the electric fence. And if anyone's ever touched an electric fence, even nobody will do it purposely, but even accidentally, it can give you quite a bzz. And I said, I'd be happy to put a sign on the window saying, this car's electrified, don't touch it. And anyone that tried to touch it before I was there with the key to turn it off will get bzz and get zapped. But apparently I'm not allowed to do that. I could go to jail. But seriously, no, don't try and steal. And there are city branches of CWA too. For city women, you don't need to live in the country to join CWA. There are town branches too. Oh, yum. Kathy, those zucchini flowers would have been delicious. Bye, Joy. All right. Can't remember, Barb. Bye. Okay. All right. Gosh, here we go again. Books and the lives and living in Appalachia. That would be really interesting. I wonder what your Amish books are. I have quite a few Amish books. And we like Appalachia's Homestead, yeah. Like Tara. $2.99 for grapes. I haven't had grapes this season. I refuse to pay for them. Okay, give them a really good wash, put them out in the sun for a while, but they will probably still have the fragrance from the washing powder in them. But if you put whatever in containers, in airtight containers, and then put those in the buckets, it should be fine. But they would need to be vacuum sealed in either jars or bags. Yeah. Extra portions. Wow. I make 3 litres at a time, Kerry, but it lasts us for about a year. Dehydrating eggs, good. Without wanting to sound too doom and gloom, actually knowing how to cook rabbit or offal is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing to know how to do. We are spoilt. In Australia in 2020, we are spoilt because we eat really, really well, and we do not appreciate just what it is to be hungry. Now, rabbit's actually really expensive. If you go to the butcher and try to buy a rabbit, you usually have to order them in, and they are expensive. Whereas it used to be, Dad used to go out the back and shoot them and bring them in. And now, of course, we don't do that. But knowing how to rabbit, venison, the offal, what to do with tongue, what to do with oxtail, what to do with kidneys, lamb's fry, is something we should all know how to do. Not necessarily that we need to go run out and start changing our diets to eat those things, but if push comes to shove, there might not be a choice at some point. Okay. Yeah, $10 a kilo. Mince is sort of, it's really sad, isn't it? And tonight for the pasta sauce, I used the last jar of dehydrated mince too. So now I've got to add that to my canning plan. But yeah, okay. Cabbage moths are they're like pantry moths. They're just really hard to get rid of. So if you can do it, try the cornflour trick. Give it a try. I was the youngest when I was CWA. I was the youngest there, and it was amazing. No, you're not crashing a party. You'll make lifelong friends. You will learn so much, and it's hard to explain. CWA, I know they say tea and scones, and that's not true. CWA, Country Women's Association, is the most powerful non-political organisation in Australia. Government listens to CWA. Politicians listen to CWA because they are women that speak from experience, and they just tell the truth. They say it as they see it. It's a fantastic organisation. If you've got a branch near you, go along and introduce yourself, and there is so much to be gained from it. So much to be gained from it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So offal, rabbit, offal are now gourmet. So yes, they're very expensive. It's a bit like lamb shanks. You used to feed them to the dog. Now, oh no. Yeah. Anyway, alrighty, guys. One of the best books I bought was an old Good Housekeeping cookery book. Cost a couple of dollars and is worth its weight in gold. Excellent. Alrighty. So we know how to beat inflation. We can do it. We do not have to suffer because of inflation. We don't. Yes, prices are going up, but we know how to get around that. We know how to shop with a plan. We know how to keep our pantries full and how to use what's in our pantries. And we know how to watch the sales cycles so that we never pay retail. Never pay retail. So inflation's going to happen. It's happened throughout eternity. There's been, as long as people have been trading, there's been inflation. It might have been, I used to get, 2 rabbits for 5 carrots or whatever, and now I only get 1.5 rabbits for 5 carrots. That's inflation. So it's happened all the time. It's not a modern concept. It's not a modern thing, but we are really aware of it. And we can beat it. We can beat it. We know how to do it, and we don't need to stress about it. We have the tools. We have the tools at our fingertips. We have the knowledge in our heads to be able to do it. So inflation should not worry us. Anyway, I have to go. It's 9 o'clock again. Sorry, guys. I was determined to stick to time this week, but so much going on. Alrighty. Kerry's posted her Worcestershire sauce recipe over on Cheapskates Chatter. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. as soon as we hit 5,000, this dehydrator's out of my craft room. I'll be back next week. I have a video that I might be posting tomorrow afternoon if it gets edited in time. If it's not, it'll pop up tomorrow night. Don't worry about it. You'll find it. And I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great week, everyone.